Jonathan, mute yourself. Never mind. Jonathan, you've been muted.
Is that respondo?
Thank you.
Yep.
I love that.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the presentations we're going to see today. The CISSP is a very hot certification, and we have our very own sergeant is going to tell us today how to hit it, how to smash it, and we're very proud of her. She's come a long way since she started coming to the meetings, and of course we're going to have Chris Lopez, who's it's now a regular, and he has great input on blue teaming and seeing stuff and investigations. So I wanted to share a little bit with you guys as we move forward. Obviously, as you see in the graph, things are not looking well down here. It seems like we're the center or the epicenter. So I want you guys to try to stay safe as much as you can. We are not going to go back for the foreseeable future to physical meetings. That's not news that I'm happy to tell you. We have communicated back and forth with the library, and it just doesn't seem to be any sort of estimation. So hopefully we're going to have to deal and tackle this the best way we can. We are, as most of you have seen, there are messages inviting you to join Discord. My take on this is Discord is just another tool that has some nice features for now. We don't know if they're going to change. This might be a big bait and switch, and then they're going to go back to like Slack that started cutting off stuff. So we're going to keep to for the foreseeable future. We may start interacting more at Discord, but don't get rid of it. As you saw yesterday with the downtime in Cloudflare, Discord went away. If you want to, I guess, attend DEF CON virtually, I believe you're going to have to do it through Discord. I believe they have their own servers. And we will be providing information of all the villages. In fact, we should create a DEF CON channel as sort of like when we go to Vegas, like we pass each other, like this is what's happening here or there. We're gonna start vetting people, guys. The Discord idea is pretty good, and we have a lot of new people, but we need to know who you are. We have some rules, and I usually, and we have agreed most of the admin and roots in the old school that we do not want recruiters, and we do not want journalists. I mean, if you want to talk to journalists, that's perfectly fine, but I don't want them lurking or grabbing screenshots or a lot of the stuff that sometimes we talk is about ongoing campaigns. A lot of it is chatter, and these things look upon without a context can reflect badly on people that are basically doing their job. So I don't want any of these situations. This has happened with other hacker spaces. I'm trying to avoid this. And I want this channel for the people who are trying to mentor and trying to share to be the most comfortable possible. So we're gonna ask you who you are and what you do. All the students are welcome, professionals are welcome. This is a channel that is for all of us and for the community. So I'm trying to keep this as real as possible. Remember, first and foremost, this is a hackers channel. It's HackMiami, Pacific Hacker. So understand that when you're seeing things that are posted, because that's what we're trying to do, and we'll continue helping people, and we'll continue doing what we do. We need more presentations for the remaining 2020. Obviously that goes with, we're not going back to physical for the foreseeable future. So I am asking you and inviting you to submit presentations as we move on. We're trying to do 2 times a month, but if we get one, then we'll do one. Other than that, the job channel is still getting stuff, which is positive. The layoffs are obviously continuing. People are being hit by it. Some of us have been already affected. I'm trying to help some of the ones that have been affected by it. Hopefully we'll get them placed somewhere soon. And keep participating, keep coming, and please, if you want to invite somebody, hit up the root or admin channel. Again, everybody's welcome. We just want to make sure we know who you are, and you're not just here to observe, grab, and go. This is a channel that, you know, a lot of us are putting time to help others, to mentor others, to research, to investigate, and that's the purpose of this. With that in mind, I guess I'm gonna pass it on to our very own Sergeant, and I'm sure she's gonna rock it out. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and put it up here, share screen. All right, let me know. I'm gonna.
Looks good.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you so much, Rod, for sharing that. And so today I just wanted to talk about the CISSP. So yes, it is a really hard exam, but I find also it could even be harder for people with especially within this group, because we're extremely technical, and that's what you kind of have to watch out with, I guess, with this particular exam. So I have like all these pictures on my thing, so I want to make sure I can move it. All right, so what I really want to focus on is just learning how to effectively study for the CISSP, methods of studying, and tips and tricks of the certification. So just a little bit of who I am. So I'm Sasha Stephanie Thomaston. I've been in the military for 10 years. 6 years I was in military police deployment. I worked in tactical ops center. I was also a 240 Bravo gunner, which is like machine gun, just so you all know. Search pit, worked, you know, searching vehicles for IEDs and some ECP control. So, you know, some security stuff there. And then also went to cyber system operations. And now currently I'm still in the reserves for the Air Force. And I work with the mission defense team, which is basically helping our F-16s stay safe. And I mean, civilian wise, I've worked at Wix.com. I've also worked at different places as well. I did a little bit of cybersecurity consulting, and then currently I'm the senior ISSO for Army Intelligence Security Command. So I'm like, you know, like I do have like, you know, a wide array of experience, and maybe not the most traditional, you know, cybersecurity experience in title, but a lot of it does touch on the domains for the CISSP. Security Plus, BA in Linguistics, MS in Cybersecurity Management, and I'm working my doctorate in business business administration and information security. I forgot to add that. But that's basically just kind of a whole blob of who I am. So why is this important? So there is an experience requirement when it comes to the CISSP. You need to have a minimum of 5 years of cumulative paid work experience and 2 or more of the 8 domains. So basically you have these security domains in the CISSP before you even take the test. Before anything, you need to be able to meet these requirements so you can actually get the certification. But if you don't have the certification, you can definitely get like the associates of the ICS squared or RIC squared, which is it's you get that until you have that actual certification. So this is just something like, let's say if you really want to take this test, but you don't have the experience, you can get it. You can get this this associate. Now, here are the domains that I'm speaking of. Now you have like security and risk management, asset security, security architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, security assessment and testing, security operations, software development, security. So these are the domains. And as it said before, you have to have you have to have at least 2 of those, or worked within 2 of those domains. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so 2 or more of the 8 domains. So it's especially like if you've worked in different areas, then you've probably touched some of these domains and not even know it. So making it all fit, you'll need to fill out so when you finally get to that point after you've paid and you're in that point of filling out your experience requirements for the CISSP, they give you like a form, and it's one of those forms like you might have seen, like if you're applying for a job where you have to like copy and paste all your experience inside of it. And then you have to make sure that you have the 2 of the 8 domains. I said choose one of the, oh yeah, and then you have to make sure you choose an option of the domain. So let's say if I say, like, you know, like if it was for cybersecurity consultant, like they'll give me a list, and then they'll ask me to choose like where in one of these domains was I working, or what was I doing in one of these domains when I was a cybersecurity consultant. So that's kind of an example. And you'll also need to provide proof that you worked at your employment or you've had that education. So I had to actually go through, you know, go through some of my records, like military record for the mission defense team thing or cyber system operations, and like actually like, you know, give them something there. Or you can give them like you know, your hiring paperwork, kind of like your actual paperwork that you get when you get hired or when you actually leave. You can give them that paperwork. So you will have to provide some type of documentation when you're going ahead and applying for this certification. So on another note, if any of you are ever interested in working for like government or something like that, this is just a list of like the different certifications that you can get and where they fall. So for me, like these IAM, like this is information assurance, technical information assurance, managerial. So they have all these different areas. So for me in my current job, like I would fall more in like the information assurance management level 3. So that's why the CISSP, I guess in my particular work, since I'm working for government, you know, and all this stuff, that's the reason why it's important, because you do need to have at least this level 3 certification to even be qualified to work where I'm working. So that's why this would be important in the long run. And it's also good if you're like, you know, if you're in any other thing, Department of Defense, just so there's more context on why I would have gotten this. So let's just get into it. So when it came to studying, my key concepts, I did reading, I did practice tests, and I watched a whole bunch of videos, like whole bunch of videos. But for the readings that I did, I focused on at least I used the CISSP, sorry, I want to move this, the CISSP Certified Information System Security Professional Official Study Guide. So the book that looks like this, that's what I used. And I also got the bundle, and on Amazon, they sell the bundle. I ended up getting like the physical books, and I ended up getting like the Kindle books, and I'll go through that, why I did that for that reason. And I also read the 11th hour CISSP study guide. And I read that 3 days before I took the test, because it's a very short book, but the reason why is because I you know, like after you study, I wanted something like fresh in my brain, just to have like a review of everything. I mean, in total, I studied for the test for 30 days. So, or maybe about 4 weeks or so. So that's the amount of time it took me to study and pass it from the time I started. So also practice tests. Now, I'm telling you, Boston practice tests, they're hard, but they're worth it. They are so worth it. I think like for the most part, those were the tests that really kind of made me think. The reason why they're worth it is because you will actually be able to, when like you'll see like the questions, and they'll also give you an answer and explanation of where to find the answer. And these questions are not exactly like the test, because like when you open the test, if you're expecting to see the Boston practice test questions, they're not going to be there. You're not trying to memorize the questions, you're trying to memorize the actual content with the test. So understand why answers are wrong and understand why answers are right. So when I was taking the test, and I'll probably throw up an example, but when I was taking the test, basically it would ask me the questions, and then it would also give me like a reason why this answer was correct or incorrect, and then show me exactly where they got it from. And a lot of the answers were inside the CyBEX book. So you can actually like go to the chapter that they're referring to on the Boston test and look for it in your CyBEX book, and you'll be able to find it. Some of them are elsewhere, but it's really important because it's helpful. Also, I use the test that came with the book. I think at like the end of the book, if you go all the way to the back of the book, I don't know if you can still see me, but if you go all the way to the back of the book, they actually tell you how you can access their online learning environment. I recommend getting that. I used to just, if I was watching a movie, if I was watching a show or something, I would just pop that thing open and just start taking random practice tests, just to kind of you know, at least keep my brain going. And also Kelly Handren, definitely, she killed, like she really explains things, and her review questions are probably the closest review questions to the CISSP I have seen. So I'd recommend looking at those if you're trying to figure out what type of questions they're asking, because they kind of ask questions in a tricky way. So videos, I watched the Kelly Hanahan Cybrary CISSP. She has a video on Cybrary. It's free. That's my favorite price. I watched it and it was definitely worth it. Also there's also a video that she did. I put it underneath there. It's on YouTube. It says, why will you pass the CISSP Cyber Train IT? It's like 10 minutes, but I recommend just watching it because exactly what she's saying is exactly the concepts that you need to like get ingrained in your mind when taking this test. Also, there is a CISSP Cert Prep by Mike Chappell. This is actually on LinkedIn, and I probably should have annotated, but this CISSP Cert Prep, if you go to LinkedIn and you go to LinkedIn Learning, it's on LinkedIn Learning. And you can actually, what this does is it's actually conjoined with the actual book that I was talking about, the CyBEX book. Don't ever rely on any of these resources. Don't rely on them alone. You want to use them all together. You need to have all those different ways of knowing exactly, like you have to like have different angles of this test. So what I recommend is you go on LinkedIn Learning, watch the little Mike Chappell short video or short section about whatever it is, and then you follow it with your book. So for domain 1, you follow it with your book for domain 1. So you just kind of go back and forth with your book and that LinkedIn Learning thing. So that would be another way of getting that going. And also Larry Greenblatt, I think that's how you say his name. He has a, sorry, let me just check. He has a video that is basically pretty nice, and it kind of just tells you how to take the CISSP. It's short. I don't remember how long. I think it might be 30 minutes, but I would recommend looking at that video on YouTube as well. All right, so mindset for the CISSP. This is basically you want to prepare your mind. With us, I think even like when you're dealing with HackMiami or people that do mainly hacking technical, you get very stuck in the technical aspect of your mind. And when you're doing a CISSP test, you can't be there. You got to get out. So you got to take the hat off. And I think maybe like people who might be very technical and know their stuff, actually who really, really know security, might not do well at this test. If you really know security, sometimes these tests are hard because you're so used to your own industry. You're so used to using whatever, methods you have. So you have to kind of go away from what your brain wants you to do. You don't want to, you're not trying to fix the problem. So don't always like just try to go straight to fixing the problem, because what happens is that you're not the doer in this situation. In the CISSP, you are not the doer, you're not the hacker, you're not the worker, you're not hands-on. You have to get away from this technical train of thought, and you have to think about the actual process, change control, risk management, all the boring stuff that we really don't want to do. If you want to be a hacker, you're trying to not do this, but this is what you have to do in order to take the test. And you don't want to look for heavy technical solutions, because they try to get you really stuck into the weeds when they ask you the question, because they want you to click on that. They want you to be like, okay, yes, I want you to let's say personally administer that firewall. No, don't do it. Like you have to think about the process, about the risk management process, about the implications, about the big whole picture. And then you have to also realize that senior management is responsible. When I say responsible, I mean responsible for whatever happens. So a lot of the times before anything happens, or when they ask you a question, sometimes they might try to like make it seem like everybody is responsible for security. Everybody's responsible for security. But at the end of the day, the people that are the most responsible for security, when stuff breaks, when stuff is like jacked up and the entire world is, suffering from COVID, then senior management is responsible for the security of because they need to make sure that, everything is running within their organization. So, and another thing is that you can have, with the CISSP, you can have too much security. So think about the three little bears. You have the porridge that's too too hot, the porridge is too cold, and the porridge is just right. So if they ever ask you how much security you need, you want to go with the just right portion, because if too much security can be too much for whatever your assets are valued. So you always want to think about like your assets when it comes to anytime they are asking you a question like, what's the first thing you do? Did you actually identify what your assets? Do you know what you're protecting? Because that's like, they always get you like, oh, what's the first thing you do? And then they'll say like all these things to do, but you really want to make sure you know what you're protecting and what your assets are. And if your assets are, let's say if the cost of trying to protect your asset is way too high, and the asset's like $1 and you're paying like $300,000 to protect it, that's a little too high for security. Like you don't need you don't need that. Or if it's the opposite, if your asset is really, there's really not that much there, and it's costing you like, or if there's really not that much to protect, you want to make sure that you still adequately get that. And especially the next point is security is a lot more important than technology. When it comes to the test, security is the most important, not the technology. So even if you administer the most fanciest thing, that doesn't matter. The security aspect, and when I say security, I mean the security processes, the security, the processes, the procedures, knowing what the concepts are. The security concepts are more important than like, just the technical implementation. You can slap a machine on anything, but are you actually really securing that thing that you're slapping the machine on? And at this point, when you're taking this test, you're thinking like a manager. So that's why when I was bringing up that thing from earlier with the DoD 8570, and I said IAM, which is the Information Assurance Manager, you're thinking like a manager. You're not the practitioner, as I said for the first point. You are now having to escalate things or disseminate, but you're not doing anything. You're not doing that hands-on work anymore. And the most important thing, if you ever see it, the most important thing is human life. So if it has anything to do with safety, if it has anything to do with anybody getting hurt, it doesn't matter how much. The machine could cost $3 billion. A human life is way more important than that machine. So that's kind of the way that you have to take that hat off and really understand how to think in this with this test. All right, do I have any questions? I know I've been like kind of going. I'm anything at all? All right, so I'm gonna keep on going. So no going back. With the CISSP test, they use something called a computerized adaptive testing. Adaptive testing, yeah. So it's supposed to be more precise. And I know like some of the OGs in this area or in this chat right now, they had to take that 6-hour paper exam, like that crazy one, and they've had to like strive through that. So really salutes out to you all. But that was really not probably the most fun exam. But now they've gone ahead and they've lowered that to 3 hours, and the reason why is because it just to make it shorter, and it also tries to test your accuracy. So before, I guess the test was like 250 questions. Now the test can be as little as 100 questions, or you can have up to 150. For me personally, since this is the adaptive test, I had 150. So I was like there, but I know exactly why I was there. I had to understand my strengths and my weaknesses. For instance, maybe the reason why I had so many questions is because there was one domain where I have to hit a certain amount of questions. If I don't hit that amount of questions correctly in that domain, then that's how you will fail the test. So you want to make sure that you do study everything, but you don't have to be an expert. Like I think probably my hardest domain, and it's kind of sad, might be the networking domain. I don't know why. That was just kind of hard for me. I'm not a network engineer, but I hit as many questions. So I hit as many questions as I could hit, or as I should hit, in order to pass the test. So you don't get a test score when you pass. It's just like you passed, and I'm like, yo. So you're not going to tell me why, but yeah. So you don't get a test score, but you do have a certain amount of tests. You can fail at 100 questions, or you could pass at 100 questions. So let's say if you're not hitting the questions, if you're hitting like all of them wrong, you can fail before, if that makes sense.
Stephanie.
Yes.
So are you saying that now when you do the test, let's say you get to the end, you can't go back, you cannot go back and review
No.
Once you thought you didn't do good and make changes.
Yes, so you cannot go back. There's no back button. There's only a forward button. So once you answer your question, you answer the question. You can't go back to check if it was correct because it's an algorithm. So
Wow.
that question that you answer is going to determine the rest of the test. So let's say if I got a question on cloud security wrong, they're going to go cloud security, cloud security, cloud security, cloud security, cloud security. I know it because that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
But yeah. So
Wow.
yes, that's exactly how it is. So you can't go back, you can't erase any questions. So that's why when I say you have to understand, you have to be in that mindset. You really have to be in that mindset when you're taking the test.
So even though it's 3 hours, but you already finished by two hours, you can't use the remaining hour to review and make changes or whatever.
No, like for instance, I think I finished the test at like an hour and 50 minutes or something. And like they just stop the test. Like they're just like, okay, you're done. And then like you're done. Like just get out the chair. Like you can't go back. So that was you can't even see what you've answered. You can't even go back and check or maybe even like take a mental note of maybe you might have answered one right and you don't know what your score is. So it's just like you pass or you fail at this point. But yeah, that's the biggest, I think that's the hardest thing. So for people that always like going back and checking your answers, you have to start taking the test and not going back. And that's why I recommend going to do the Boston tests. I'm such an advocate because they really help me, but do them because you can like maybe I think there's a way that you could take the test without going back, just so you get used to taking a test without having to go back and you don't freak out. So the biggest thing is know your weaknesses. As I said before, my weaknesses was probably like the network engineering or network security. I think maybe just like network engineering, like understanding like a whole bunch of just network stuff. I'm not the best, but I know that you don't have to be a network engineer for this, but I have to know at least enough to pass it. So that would be the areas that I really try to dive into. And really try to understand more than maybe certain things that I understood a lot, like some of the risk management stuff, which I can get. And then you want to know your strengths because a lot of you might be very strong in a lot of subjects, and you might not need to go ahead and like I would recommend maybe read it inside the book and see if you understand what they're saying in the book. If you understand what they're saying and you don't have any questions, then don't go back and try to dwell on the stuff that you already know. It's not when you're studying, you're not just dwelling on things that you already know. You need to dwell on things that you need to learn. So that's the big thing about knowing your strengths. Understand what you might not need. Yeah, so that's what I said there. So for me, I was Redditing. I was living my best life on Reddit the most. Like I would go to Reddit and I would just type in, well, first I would just go to Google and just type in, past CISSP and then put Reddit next to it. And then there would be a lot of people that have lots of great ideas. So even some of the things on this slideshow, a lot of this is from Reddit. Like I'm reading other people's quests for passing the CISSP and maybe some of the things that they've reviewed, and that's what I do. I just read what they've done, see maybe what they felt about the test, and then gone ahead and taken some of these ideas from just looking at Reddit and reading what's there. So definitely recommend, and you can also join. This is like the subreddit here, so you can join that. I recommend it. It really does help because my study methods might be very different than your study methods, and there might be somebody on Reddit that has a very similar study method to you. So go on there, research. So these are my tips and tricks. So use some. Okay, so for me, I hate reading. I don't know how I went through this much school because I absolutely hate reading. I've always hated reading. And so what I have to do in order for me to be able to concentrate, because it's hard for me to concentrate when I'm reading, I have to actually get something to read aloud to me. So one thing is I had like an app on my phone. I think it's called One Voice or something, but I had an app on my phone that read PDFs out to me, and I would follow it with my, like kind of follow it while it was reading to me. And I did the same exact thing with the entire CISSP book. I had the Kindle version, and then like if you have the Kindle version, you can actually get it to be read out to you. And that's how I read the whole entire book. So I do that because it helps me stay focused. So when I'm reading it and I'm looking at the words on the page while it's reading to me and I'm taking notes, that's how I study. And that's the best way for me to study. There's also, as I said, there's also a lot of there's also apps that will read PDFs aloud for you. So if that's that's like helping you gear that auditory portion of your brain, because I think I'm more of an auditory learner and like kind of like a kinesthetic learner. Like I need to be able to do something and touch something. So that's me taking my notes, and I have to listen to it. And also sometimes I have to see it too. So I guess all three types of learning is going on over there. Take notes. I have 4 composition books. 4, like maybe, I think 4, I have 4 composition books, maybe 5 composition books full of CISSP notes. I mean, that's me, like it's between, you know, after taking a practice test, if I get any questions wrong, I review the questions, I write it down, I read it, and then I write it down inside my notebook. So that was like my schedule here. Use Quizlet. I would recommend just using Quizlet. You know, if you're a person that needs to memorize some of these terms, I'd recommend just using Quizlet to know some of the terms. But remember, this test is not about memorization. This is about knowing the concept. So it's really, I say use Quizlets, but don't focus on using like memorization techniques. You have to use gaining the concept techniques. So that's why it's important to practice test and practice test and practice test, and then understand why you're getting the questions wrong, but even understand why you're getting the questions right. Because sometimes we might get questions right, but we don't know how the heck we got them right. So you need to figure out exactly how you got them right. Find somebody to study with. Just always have somebody, like, it's always good to have an accountability partner, have somebody for you to like study with to keep you on track, because it's easier when you're not doing it by yourself. Make a schedule. So for me, when I go to making the schedule, the best way for me to study is I cannot be home and studying. I can't study at home. I have to go somewhere and study. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard now because we are supposed to be social distancing, but even like, I mean, maybe if there's somebody like that who has the same learning style as me, go to a park, or I don't know where y'all are allowed to go outside of your home, go to your backyard. But like sometimes it might be good to change scenery. If you find yourself getting extremely distracted at home and not able to do something at your house, then try to like maybe go outside and do it, or find somewhere that's not exactly in your home, because it could be distracting. That's just my opinion, but I recommend if anybody wants to try that, I think it would help. And then also schedule the test. Biggest thing is to schedule that test, because you need to mentally make yourself freak out and be like, oh my goodness, I got a test coming up, I got to study. When we say, oh, I'm going to study for the CISSP, and you don't have the test scheduled, then you're seriously just kind of putting yourself in a hole where you're never going to take the test. So it's better to schedule the test and then study for it to the test. Worst comes to worst, let's say if you're like, wow, I never read, my goal was to read the entire official study guide by CyBEX, do all the review questions, and finish let's say finish 20 practice tests at 70%. Like that's a goal. Let's say if you weren't able to read the whole entire book for CyBEX and you scheduled your test, then maybe you can actually move your test to a later day. But I would recommend scheduling the test so you have your brain set that you're going to be taking an exam. So I mean, that's like kind of there. This is more of just like, you know, understanding the test. I know it's really short. If you all want like more exact specific instructions and exactly what to do, you could definitely, you know, let me know. But I mean, the biggest thing is just really try to schedule that test and have and get your mind prepared, get that mindset prepared, and erase those ideas of, you know, like having to always implement something, having to always change something or do something. Go with the process. And remember, this test doesn't reflect your working environment. So let's say if you're already doing cybersecurity, like let's say at a company or whatever, and you have your own practices and stuff, it's good to draw from experience, but remember, when you're taking this test, you're working for ISC squared company, and they have their own you know, methods and everything of how they implement stuff. You know, whatever you read in the book about risk management, whatever you read in the book about asset security, software development, that's their own concept. So you need to study it as if you were working for ISC squared as a company, not as your own company, because your company might be doing great with their security, but it might not be exactly based off of what it is in the CISSP. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you all have any questions. Let me know if there's anything else that you would like me to talk about.
It's me again, Stephanie Adeshina.
Oh, hi.
So you indicated that you studied, practiced all of this for only 30 days, only 1 month?
Yeah, so it took about 30 days. I think if anything, if it wasn't 30, it probably, like, I think I was thinking about studying for like maybe a week before the 30 days, but I wasn't really serious. But 30 days before the test, I was serious.
So this must have been full time. No, I work just full time studying.
Just full-time studying.
Okay.
But if you are working,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like, if you are working, especially now, because most people are, and I mean some of you might not be, but a lot of people are working from home. Like, you know, it's really about gearing your time. I know during the 30 days I did have a little bit of military obligations, but even with that, you know, it was just basically I had a schedule. I woke up, like when I woke up, I did a practice test. And then after I did a practice test, I read at least two chapters or one chapter. It just depends on how big the chapter was of the book. I did the Mike Chappell review, like whatever the Mike Chappell thing was on the LinkedIn. And then I would watch a Kelly Handerhan video in the evening time and like go through a domain. And then if I had any extra time before I slept, I would either take another practice test or I would just read the book. So it was like very much like, you know, just a schedule. Just I scheduled my time like that. So
wow, that's pretty strenuous also. And
yeah.
all the references, Cybex, test, quiz subscription and everything. This must have cost over $600, just not even for the test itself, but for the references, the textbooks, and the Kindle readouts and all those stuff. Or are they all
they were
free?
not that much. Like for on Amazon, I know that the Cybex book, they had them for like 50. I think they were like $50 for both the books.
Mm-hmm.
So just for the bundle was $50. The 11th hour was cheap. I know it was like within like I think it was less than $20. I have to double check. The Boston practice tests, they're usually about $80.
Okay.
Kelly Handerhan videos were for free.
Oh.
The tests, actually, honestly, I would recommend even, the Kelly Handerhan videos are for free. These other videos were for free. The Mike Chappell videos are for free. So a lot of the videos are for free. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, some of this, if you all have like other methods of getting whatever, like you could probably find some of these too. I just got the books pretty much, but then the rest of it was just free resources I found I found like, you know, browsing Reddit. And I also had there was somebody also at my base who took the test right before I took it. And she suggested this to me. About like the Cybex book too. So, you know, some of this stuff I got suggested.
Neat. Thanks.
So Steph, I apologize. I kind of walked out of the room a little bit. You mentioned an app you have on your phone that read an entire book to you. Can you?
Yeah, let me see if I got it here still. Sometimes I'll be going through like I'm deleting all my apps phases. Oh no, it's called @voice.
It's called what?
It's called @voice, like @voice. I mean, it reads the books. One time I threw like my whole, there's something called like CDCs, like when they're like the some type of like military development course thing, and I just threw that whole book in there, and I had that thing read out to me. I was like, yeah, look at this. It's like an Audible, but I mean, it's very computery. So if you all hate that type of voice, then like you might not like it, but it works for me. Like I can do it that way. So.
Hey, I just want to make one note. The tips and tricks were awesome. So I think they apply to more than just this specific, test. And I just want to touch on one thing that really helps me out a lot that I want to kind of echo here: scheduling the test. That fire that you put under yourself when you schedule a test, that is one of the biggest motivators I've ever experienced. And that's one of the first things I always tell anybody, like, hey, if you want to take this test, look, just a month from now, plan it, schedule it. And then you'll see how your brain is going to make you, study.
You get that study panic. I love that. It's like, oh, shoot, I have like 3 more days. What am I going to do? And it's like, oh, my gosh, it's scary.
Yeah. One of those where you've got skin too, because I was Stephanie and I were talking before everybody got on. We were doing the testing the system and everything, and I had scheduled 8 exams before the end of June for June 30th. And it was a pretty harsh schedule. And I'm like, oh, I want to get this other exam. And I'm like, all right, well, if I don't take this SANS exam, I'm going to be out another $1,000. So once you have skin in the game and you've got that money on the line, yeah, that definitely takes a toll on you.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And also I forgot to put in the tips and tricks, and I can't believe I forgot. Like, I was thinking it, YouTube. So anytime I don't know a concept, like for instance, if it's like Kerberos, I'll type in Kerberos YouTube, and then you'll find everything about Kerberos in YouTube. So if there's like a vocabulary word that you're not familiar with, or if there's like a type of thing that you're not, software development lifecycle thing that you're not familiar with, just type in this concept and just type in YouTube on Google, or you can just type it straight into YouTube. That's just the way I do it personally. But and then it's just like the best way to do it. And then you get it right away, watch the video, and then take notes. So like anytime I get stuck at anywhere, I always just type in whatever I'm stuck at, YouTube, and then take notes. So
yeah, and that actually fits in with the using multiple sources that you already mentioned: textbook, Cybex, getting second opinion on the same chapter or the same topic also.
exactly. Yep. So let me see. I think I'm okay on time. Oh wow, I'm actually.
You are right. You are 100% perfect on time. So that was a good job.
It's that military thing kicking in. Like, oh.
So which certification is next for you now?
Yeah.
I'm doing well. I am studying for like I wanted to study for the CISSP, but I need to figure out which one to schedule first. The military and the Department of Defense and all these people, they love the CEH, and I'm just like, oh, fine, I'll do the freaking test. As much as I don't really agree with it, I don't really think it at all applies to ethical hacking. I'll do it, but I have to schedule my test before I know exactly. Like I have to like throw myself inside the ring before I actually get there seriously. But I have been reading a lot about the CEH test. As I said, it does not reflect ethical hacking at all, because I was even reading this, I was like, oh my god, like why? But just so I make the DoD 8570 happy, I'll just take the test. So that's my concepts right now, at least my next.
Neat.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, any other questions you guys have for Steph? Steph, are you going to be willing to share the slide deck with everyone?
I will share the slide deck. If there's anything crazy in here.
I'm sorry, I forgot to get your verbal authorization to record the meeting. Do I have your verbal authorization to record the meeting?
Absolutely. Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I think you did get it earlier, because when we were talking about like, oh, I'm going to start recording earlier. Yeah. So you did tell me this earlier that you were recording. So
you have been informed thusly.
I've been informed twice. I can't say no.
Oh. All right, so our next presentation is going to be by our very own Christopher Lopez, and he is going to give us some tips and tricks on communicating effectively and efficiently when you are doing your investigation. So Chris, are you ready to rock and roll? Can't hear you. You are muted.
That's exactly why we checked that, right? So let me just move things over. Windows, too many screens. Hold on.